speaker woke up and said, give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We are broadcasting live this January 1st, 2014. Giving you the lowdown of what's to come in 2014. We've been pretty accurate, but we do it with the help of a lot of people. Last year, it was with Jerry Hoskey, who is with us again this year, and we're so proud to have him with us. Of course, for those of you who don't know anything about Jerry, he's an intuitive mind-body-spirit coach. He's been on all the national main networks, ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC. He's also been on other numerous television and radio shows. He's been his words and thoughts have been put in print publications. He has got a great background as being a natural-born intuitive and medium. He's a mental health specialist. He's certified personal trainer and author. And he's pretty much put himself right there in the forefront of being the most motivated and most remarkable. I don't know if you could call him a psychic, but he certainly knows how to spot trends, be vigilant, notice things that are happening around us. He was very accurate last time we had him on the program. We had to bring him back this time, too, because we need some accuracy for 2014. Please welcome Jerry Hoskey. Hi, welcome to the show.
Hi, Clyde. How's it going? Thanks for having me on.
You bet. It's good to have you back. We were discussing things over Twitter last night, and I was excited to hear that you were still out there. You're still doing the work, still doing things. You know, it's funny. I was reviewing some of the things you were saying about 2013 on the program, and I think that you were hitting it on the head when you were talking about all of the natural things. You focused primarily on the Earth's health and how the Earth was going to be showing signs that it was going through a tumultuous time. We had volcanoes and earthquakes and all kinds of other things that were simply, and of course the Chelyabinsk meteor, which of course you said, we need to also pay attention to what's out there in space. What are some of the things that you noticed as well in 2013 that you felt were the most interesting to be aware of?
Well, one of the things I saw throughout the year is, last year was a 6. If you add up the 2 plus the 0 plus the 1 plus the 3, add those up as single digits, you get a 6 year, and that's known as the lover's card. And as I mentioned last year, and I saw this a lot this year, there's extremes of loyalty and disloyalty. Like, you remember the coaches that were hitting the players and stuff like that happened this year, and all that kind of stuff that happened? Do you remember that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Like, extreme disloyalty happened there, and when you have that 6, it's kind of found out. And then there was real loyalty, like the dog that stayed by its master's graveside after he died in Iraq. And there was just a lot of sweet stories of extreme loyalty and a lot of disloyalty, and it tended to polarize one way or the other. And that is kind of the lover's card or the 6 card or the 6 year. So I noticed that a lot last year.
Yeah, the thing about questioning loyalties was another thing that really stuck with me. You were talking about the idea that we will see just where loyalties fall, where people will, put their loyalties, or where they will, they'll stand by certain individuals and they will reject others. I think the biggest example of this is the president. I think that a lot of people are, they tend to polarize themselves both right and left when it comes to their president, becomes their or their politicians or Congress, but even members of the supporting faction of Barack Obama are now jumping ship and saying, what happened? Where's his loyalties? Why are his loyalties going somewhere else? And I think that it's put us in a lot of, I guess you could call it psychological turmoil, because we had trust in someone that was going to bring about positive changes, and what we're seeing now is a man who's lost in his loyalties.
Well, I know this, that we saw a little bit of the dropping of the ball with the healthcare thing. Wasn't really ready yet, and a little bit of the GSA thing and all about that. That was certainly like I think a lot of people probably felt, disloyalty. It's almost like the girlfriend that looks at all your emails and text and stuff. Like if somebody that wouldn't trust somebody. Mm-hmm. And there's an energy of that with the whole, the Snowden thing and all that kind of stuff, and certainly kind of caused him some rift there. And that's absolutely true. And that was also kind of fits in with the 6 type of year that happened last year, and even somewhat coming into this year.
Why all of the paranoia, you think?
On whose part?
Well, government's part, and a lot of people, man. We're right in a cloud of paranoia, and also we also found ourselves in a situation in 2013, and I observed this we had this love for psychopaths. We seem to love our psychopaths, from the television shows we watch to the leaders we get behind. It seems that many people will not drop. There are some people that will not drop their loyalty for some of the psychopathic activity that we're seeing going on.
Do you watch South Park at all?
Oh, yeah.
They had a show on that about, the whole, I don't watch CSI and those kind of shows. I know they were popular, but they almost had a show that it was almost like murder porn or something. Everyone was into watching these kind of shows and these kind of events and the trials and whatnot. It was a funny episode. Yeah, so I can see what you're saying about all that. And it seems like, this year is the year about trust and verify, much like Ronald Reagan used to say. It's a 7-year, and it's a lot about analysis and understanding. So literally coming off the heels of a 6-year, now it's like, we'll prove it. It's a little bit like this year's about okay, we believe you, we want to believe you, but prove it. Let's see. The big Target thing that just happened, with the 40 million credit cards the numbers being stolen and whatnot. Mm-hmm. I don't blame, you've heard about that, I'm sure.
Yes.
I don't blame Target for that, but is that something that's going to continue all over the place and still happening and still, have you heard about that one virus that's out there it infects all these different computers and whatnot? Nothing's been done with it yet, but a lot of people are infected. I forget the name of it. You probably would know this, or maybe I'm not giving enough information to pull out the name of it, but it's a specific virus that's been around for a while, mm-hmm. and it's literally all over the place, but it's dormant. It's just kind of observing everything, but we don't really know what's going to happen out of this thing that's all over the place. This kind of virus that's all over the place that seems dormant or doesn't really seem to be doing anything yet. That being said, could it be triggered with something? So, off topic, but literally it's a little bit like this is a year about analysis and understanding. It's a year about let's verify everything. Let's not just assume trust. And I'm just saying what I see for the year, not my own personal opinion, but it's literally about, let's verify everything. That analysis, understanding. Let's try to understand what's going on. Let's analyze everything. Let's prove it to people. You know what I mean? The proof's in the pudding. That kind of vibe is big in this year, for everything.
Do you think that we need to engender a little trust right now? Because I was reading a poll out of Canada. They were doing a 65-country poll, and the majority of the countries who were polled said that they believe that the United States is the biggest threat to peace in the world. And I was taken aback by that, but I was realizing, look at all the things that we've had happen in 2013. Is it any wonder that countries are now looking down at us thinking we're going to strike, or there may be a reason to have turmoil between the United States and other countries, and their trust is waning? What would you say about that?
Well, I think that there's some accuracy to that statement. I mean, a little bit who wants anyone to butt in their business a little bit? And there's sometimes America, I'm obviously pro-America, and I want us to have all peaceful life here everywhere. But even when we provided aid and whatnot, sometimes, we were spit in our face over it. We tried to help Egypt, and then, one video that we didn't have anything to do with, now, and then all of a sudden a lot of people in Egypt didn't like us anymore. They never really did like us, or, that kind of vibe. And this is not a psychic prediction, but I'd almost rather see us pull our money out of a lot of these places and give it to Americans or something to, for us, for the poor here, because it almost seems like wasted cash, and they don't. The second our money would dry up, giving it to them, whatever we're trying to do there, they really don't seem to be our friends, or it really hasn't bought us much. So definitely I see this kind of vibe there. And this, who wants someone to be a cop on their own turf? You know what I mean? A little bit. Like, does America sometimes get in areas that perhaps it didn't do a whole lot of good that they did, and also people might resent them, you know, or even if they help them with the crisis, now, like, please get out, you know what I mean, with the people. So I think there's a lot of that vibe that will happen this year, too, of little, you like, I think that actually could be a good thing, because I think we'll look and see, okay, how are we spending our dollars? You know, what are we doing? You know, like, quantitative easing, you know, the whole tapering and that they're talking about doing now, all the money they pumped into the banks. I heard a stat one time, and you could probably, you're the fact guy, Clyde. You study all of this stuff, it seems. Mm-hmm. So I would bow to you with the expertise on the facts and figures here. But I heard something like, we gave enough to the banks who just kind of pocketed the money. They could have given everyone a $40,000 check. That would have been great. Everyone get a $40,000 check. I would have loved to get a $40,000 check, wouldn't you?
I would love that. Yeah, that would help us a lot. Yeah. Our
economy would be great, even better than now. Now it's a little pumped up because of quantitative easing, and is it really as good as they say? The stock market's a record, this, that, and the other. But how much of that is just pumped up versus real?
Yeah, it's true. We're taking a look at we're looking at some sort of reform or what have you, where they're going to be hiking our taxes, and we're going to be drawn in with this affordable health care. We're looking at a tune of over $500 billion collected, or at least being wasted. And that's the thing, is that we don't know where it goes. It doesn't go to us. We're all being skeptical now of, like you say, trust and verify. That's what 2014 is. We got to become educated and vigilant. And Jerry Hoskey's here tonight to tell us all about it. We'll be back with more and your phone calls asking questions about the future 2014 right here on Ground Zero. 888-673-3700. We'll be back.
FM News 101 KXL.
Under the cover of night, anything goes. KXL After Dark.
Everyone is in on the secrets, and big things are being planned. Call Clyde Lewis now. Ground Zero.
The website is psychicfitness.com. Jerry Hoskey's my guest tonight on Ground Zero. Psychicfitness.com is a place to go. Jerry is actually, he's a natural-born intuitive physical trainer, just a remarkable guy. He's appeared all over the country on various networks, including this program. Another thing I want to ask you, Jerry, and it was on my mind, and I kind of hinted at it when I was talking with you on Twitter last night. You know, I'm very excited about the pole shift on the sun. I'm excited from the standpoint of what we might be seeing, how things might be affected, and how it may be interesting. But I was thinking on a more esoteric level, how things above us affect us here on planet Earth, as above, so below. What are your instincts on how these pole shifts are going to affect us psychologically and maybe even psychically?
Well, I see the pole shifts, and all these changes has an effect on Earth, and usually it's not totally a beneficial effect. It's certainly a transiting time or a transition time. So when you have the solar flares, we're talking about the solar showers, the rays from the sun affecting the greenhouse effect on Earth, and the natural disasters, and where it's hot, it's going to be cold. Where it's cold, it's going to be hot. Where it's dry, it's going to be rainy. Where it's rainy, it's going to be dry. All the extremes of weather are going to continue. I still think, and I'm hopping a little from your exact thing as far as the esoteric thing, but jumping in with the flare activity coupled with the number of being a 7-year. Also, that's the year of the chariot. That's the card. And a chariot, as you know, it's a contraption that moves very fast, but it has to be balanced and centered to go quickly. Otherwise, it flips over pretty easily. So the whole analysis, understanding, and the whole plodding along, I think a lot of people are going to. A 7 is very much a soul-searching time for people, period. It's a little bit like, what am I doing? It's a little bit like I would view this year a little bit on the interpersonal level or the psychic level for people of like, what am I doing with my life? What do I want to be up to? Am I fulfilling my mission? Time is short. We're all a cup of coffee away from passing here. So there's a sense of like, not to be too serious, but also there is a sense of like, 7's sort of a serious card. The 7 years is a serious year. It's a transiting year. Odd years mean movement, mean changing from one thing to another. That's the kind of vibe this year. It's a little bit like, okay, it's almost like a rebirth thing or have you heard, I'm not an astrologer person, and the psychic thing I was just born with, the natural born intuitive thing. But in astrology, every 30 years is called a solar return or Saturn return for people. Mm-hmm. And basically they take stock of their entire life every 30 years, and they might make major changes. I would view this year as one of those kind of years where a lot of people that are tapped in to their higher spiritual natures or the whole kind of questioning, like meaning of life, what am I here for, what am I up to, what do I want to be about, I think that's going to hit deep with a lot of people.
What's so interesting, Jerry, is the minute you were bringing up the Saturn return, I was thinking it. I was just thinking to myself, because, of course, I'm going to be hitting 50 this year. And that's me facing my Saturn return. It's every 29, every 30 years. So I'll be reaching
When's your birthday?
February 22nd, 1964.
Oh, cool. What sign is that?
Pisces. I'm a pitiful
you're
Pisces.
Right on the cusp, right?
Right on the cusp, yes. That's me. And
22 is a good number, as you know.
Yeah, 222. All power numbers all the way. That saved my life many times, I'm sure. But now we're in the Saturn return, and this is where we come to grips with, where I've been, where I want to go, and how am I going to spend the next 50 years if I'm so lucky to have 50 years. I'm going to be spending my next 50 years.
I see, with regarding you this year, you want me to say a couple things about you?
I guess. Sure.
Well, since you're on the topic of the 50 and all that stuff, I actually think a lot of your messaging and how you get your message across on Ground Zero and whatnot, I also think you might even, there's a sense of like, you know how gold, you burn off the impurities. You ever see the show Gold Rush? One that they burn off the impurities and then they get the solid gold there minus everything else. There's a sense here with you that you're going to try to do that. You're going to try to pick a few lanes where some of your pet major things you want to make impact on while you're still here on this planet, and you're going to kind of focus on that. Even in the shows, I think you're going to have a lot of theme shows around a few, maybe it's 4 or 5 central themes, even more than you do now. I think that's going to happen with you this year. I also think there's an energy about you wanting to get around TV again, whether you have a show or you're part of a producing of a show or you're a concept of a show, this kind of vibe. I think you're going to kind of look at that or have meetings with people about this or something like this. And again, it's in a realm of not really like Jesse Ventura's, conspiracy theory type of thing, but a little bit, but your own flavor, your own kind of issues you want to bring to attention. And I actually like these ideas for you. I think you ought to pitch some of these things, and maybe you're already doing that or already in talks or thinking about it.
As a matter of fact, there are things in the background where we are working on these things. We're working on a number of things that may transpire this year, I'm hoping. And yes, they all deal with television, and they deal with being able to see, what Ground Zero would be like on a visual stage rather than on the audio stage. So you're on.
I like this. I like this for you, and I think this is a good idea. And it seems like you've had a background in TV a long time ago or something.
Television and movies. That's my background more than radio. I want to be radio because I want to be behind the scenes. So that's good, Jerry. Hey, Jerry, more come from Jerry Hoskey tonight on Ground Zero. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
We may be witnessing the beginning of an era that will mean the complete annihilation of man.
Annihilation?
The beginning of the end.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. First episode of 2014. Numbers to call at 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Jerry Hoskey is my guest tonight on Ground Zero. PsychicFitness.com. It's PsychicFitness.com. Great to have him on the program. Last year, he was so accurate in his predictions, and he is a natural-born intuitive and also a psychic fitness trainer for those out there that are interested in how to better their lives for the coming year. Go to PsychicFitness.com. It's PsychicFitness.com. Okay, so I have been looking at some of the trends. I've been looking at some of what I think is going to go down, and I think that we need to, I guess, take into consideration that 2013 has been, I think, the preparatory time for, as you were saying, we're going to say, okay, prove it. We're going to say, okay, now we need to see the proof. We need to see if anything is happening. But I have a feeling that one of the biggest things that's going to go down is we're going to see a shakeup in politics, a shakeup in monarchies, leaders dying. In fact, the ones that hold the real power are going to be dying, falling like flies in 2014. How do you feel about that?
Let me take a look at that. Well, I think I'm gonna bow to you on the particulars on that, Clyde. Your expertise on that. What I see is maybe a little less of that than what you see. To be honest with you, that's what I intuitively get. I think now, is it going to kind of shore up the corral a little bit? Like, are we going to try to engender ourselves, or to ingrace ourselves to some of our select, alliances, and really make sure those bonds are extra solid? Yes, I see that happening with America and some of our key allies and whatnot. I see that kind of going on more like, let's stick together. Let's make sure we kind of are on the same page. Let's have a little more disclosure with everything, and let's try to be on the same page with everything, and let's stick together because we need to stick together. I actually see this going on a lot. As far as a lot of leaders dropping like flies, I'm going to bow down to you on that and what you think there. I'll let you have, your analysis on that and your trend thinking on that. I don't necessarily see that, particularly like all these leaders are going to die or whatnot. I don't get that. I'm not saying that won't happen, but I'm not picking that up.
Well, what I'm talking about is I'm talking about the real old guard is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anybody in particular that we would see on the nightly news. What I'm talking about are those that hold the real power in the cryptocracy. That they're the ones that we've always looked to, or they've always been behind the scenes, pushing the buttons, pulling the chains. I'm talking about the Dick Cheneys of the world, the Henry Kissingers of the world. I'm talking about the monarchies of the world. I'm talking about the royal family. I think that it's a given that Prince Philip will die this year. He may die. And if he does, I could see the Queen advocating the throne and a fight over who deserves it better than either Prince Charles or Prince William. We focused our attention a lot on the royal family this past year and years past, along with Kate and Prince William. And I'm thinking that a lot of the shakeups are going to be happening in the Arab world. They're going to be happening in the Middle East. Israel is going to be a factor. And a lot of Faustian bargains that are going to go stale. If not some very shaky bargains to keep a sort of I guess you could call it a shaky peace within the Gulf states, and the annexing and compartmentalizing of power, which I think is the next phase in 2014.
Well, that could well be. One of the biggest challenges I see for this year, and I think this is it's a little bit like kick the can down the road.
Yeah.
And you've got like a foot that's bad, and you just keep covering it up or splintering it, but it's still like sprained and still messed up.
Yeah.
Regarding the economies of the world, I think that's where we're at. I think that there's still that underlying powder keg that could go off at any moment, whether it's Greece and the austerity problem, whether it's, they don't want Germany telling them what to do, and even though Germany controls their money a little bit here, and the whole thing of like everyone who's in the EU and the Euro currency and who's not. And I think all that is a house of cards that's the going statements on all that by when you watch CNBC or whatnot or any of these kind of things, or you talk about governments, it's like, it's fine, we passed a catastrophe, things are going to work out. And I know that's what's been going on, but I disagree, because I think the people on the streets ultimately are going to they're the ones that are going to have to cut back more. or not. Like when the rubber meets the road, none of them are going to want to do this. Zero. And that's going to basically have this house of cards fall. So I think the whole idea of even how we're starting to taper the money out of the market now a little bit. We made an announcement last month that the government's going to start to do that because they think the economy is better. I know that's how it looks. I know the housing looks better for people and this, that, and the other. I wouldn't even be rushing to get a house if I were people. I know a lot of people think, well, the interest rates are going up and the house values are going up again and whatnot. But I would, and that may well happen again. I could be mistaken about this, but I wouldn't be too quick to jump into buying it. Rushing to get a home. 2007 taught us a little lesson about that, and I think that some people are maybe the greed's overtaking the caution.
And the indication of a false sense of security as well. A lot of people are thinking, oh, but it's all going to get better in 2014. Let's just say this: it's not going to get worse. But I'm thinking that it's not going to be anywhere where we have the security that we most certainly need. If I always say, look, you basically bet how the house bets, and you basically do what the house does. And if you do what the house does, chances are you'll either push or you'll make something off your hand. And this is how I see the world anymore, is that you look at how the house is acting. If the powers that be are doing certain things, then mirror those things, and chances are you may push. But there's always that ace that can show where they'll always win and they'll bust you. But your job is to bust them. And it just seems to me that Americans have forgotten how to be cynical and skeptical with regards to government. They've forgotten how to separate opinion from fact. And this is the confusion we're in right now. And I'm hoping, as you're saying, this trust but verify attitude will be part of what will spark the revelation of that revolution, which is fighting against the interior, or at least the spiritual apocalypse or the spiritual Armageddon that most of us are facing now.
Yes, and when they say don't fight the Fed with the money they're pumping in the market and whatnot, I know the market had one of its best years ever this past year, but how much of that is built on sand versus real, I know apparently the job market's better for some people and whatnot, and unemployment's down, but how many people aren't looking anymore? I don't think the numbers are as good as they say. I just don't. No. And I think a lot of it, if we didn't have QE and the money that the government's keep pumping in every month to kind of almost have an underpinning to the stock market, almost like a put for the market, like they've got a brace there for people. And how much of that is like a little bit built on cards, a little bit built on how real is it? I think that, of course, they can, you say don't bet it, go with the trend. That, the trend is like go with the government, they're backing the stock market, keep your money in there. But all it would take is one little natural disaster in America, or one little blow up in Greece, or one little blow up here or there, where a lot of this stuff starts to fall again. And then where are you? I think right now, for instance, go ahead, Clyde.
I was just going to say, when we're looking at money and we're looking at that sort of thing, I can promise you, and I can go with what you're saying here about all the Band-Aids come off, and they're going to come off in February. It just seems that February is going to be the earliest time we'll be seeing them come off. I mean, when they raised that debt ceiling and they pretended to be all concerned about the shutdown, what they didn't tell you is that debt ceiling and all of those little Band-Aids they put there are all going to start flowing blood again around February, March. And when we have benefits being taken away from people who are normally getting those benefits, when we have a number of people demanding more on the healthcare system and burdening the system, there needs to be an out for government. And I worry that out for government would be a manufactured crisis, or at least a real crisis where asymmetrical warfare is appearing on the horizon, like what happened in Russia the past few days.
Yeah, gotcha. And how I work is I basically pray I'm accurate for people and for my predictions for the year and whatnot. I ask God to help me, help people and whatnot, and then I say whatever comes up. And within that, right now the stock market's at an all-time high, and in America, and the time to buy insurance is when you don't need it. And if you could find a way to buy insurance in the stock market for all the people that are in it right now, this is a good time to do it. That the volatility in the market, which is known as the VIX, the VIX, it's very low right now, which means there's no fear in the market. So in buying insurance on the market is cheap right now. And talk to your broker about this. I want everyone to know I could always be mistaken about what I see, and your destiny is your own. But I would recommend people strongly consider talking to their brokers and how can you protect your money if we have a huge drop in the stock market. I don't think it's outside the bounds to say we could get a 20 to 30% correction at some point this year. I think that's very likely. And I also think it's likely because of perhaps a natural disaster triggers it, or perhaps something, Greece falls apart, or some other Europe problem, or something like shocks. Because, right now there's no fear. So everyone's like, zippity-doo-dah, and that's the time you get blindsided. You don't see the punch that's coming. You know what I mean?
So coming off the afterglow of the changing of the calendar, it seems that it's no respecter of time. You can put yourself maybe 13, 14 days into the future. We'll already be talking again about massive shootings. We'll be talking about all these other things that happen in this cycle. We're noticing anywhere from between 13 days to 6 weeks before we start seeing the trend happen again, where people start shooting the place up, start doing all kinds of sloppy and screwy things. And it doesn't take a psychic to figure that one out, because the cycles are beginning to manifest themselves. We've been pointing them out all the time on this program. I just think that now, with the advent of the changing of the poles on the sun, the way we look at ourselves, how the skies have been very active and how things are happening like that, I think that it does affect us in such a way where we start allowing for those apocalyptic mind processes to happen, and they happen over and over and over again. We seem to be in this vicious cycle. Jerry Hoskey is with us tonight. PsychicFitness.com. That's PsychicFitness.com is the website to go to. We'll be back with more, and then we're going to be getting your calls, some of your predictions, and Jerry will even look out for you and talk about some of the things for you in the future. So give us a call, 888-673-3700. It's 888-673-3700. We'll be back. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
Back to Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
PsychicFitness.com. PsychicFitness.com. Check out the website. Jerry Hoskey is my guest tonight on Ground Zero. So glad to have him on. He is the natural born intuitive, and also mental fitness and body fitness as well. Something that is remarkable. Jerry, I guess before we move into the calls, I just thought I'd ask you, what about health and what about health and also tech? I mean, those are some things that I think are very murky for the future. How we're going to be dealing with healthcare, how we're going to be dealing with our own health, and also the dangers of radiation. A lot of people are worried about with Fukushima and several other things happening. What do you say to that?
The Fukushima thing is a huge problem. I think they've been covering. I think it's 5 times worse than they're saying. I think it's just a matter of time that they're really trying to, even though we're trying to help them and whatnot, I think they're trying to kind of put makeup on their black eyes over and over again. But people aren't buying it. So I think Fukushima is a huge, huge problem. Huge. And I don't think it's going away. I think it's worse than they're saying. They don't want to alarm the Japanese people any more than they already are, let alone us with the stuff coming this way. But I think it's a lot worse than is being stated. And I think it's nowhere near being fixed. That's what I think about that.
Okay.
Regarding you want to talk about Obamacare and stuff like that? I'll be happy to.
Sure, go right ahead. Mm-hmm.
A couple things here, and again, we obviously, you and I have room. I don't know your exact feelings on this. I'm just telling you intuitively what I get, but it may be different than what you see or what your opinion on it is. I think it is a little bit. It's going to be slow, methodical going. I think the promises are going to be very slim now. They're
Jerry, are you there? Jerry, are you there? He kind of faded out. I'm trying to figure out wow. That was interesting. We're going to get Jerry back on. As soon as he starts talking about Obamacare, the phone fades out. It seems to be, I'm going to make a prediction this is going to continue on Ground Zero for the rest of the year. Anytime we come into a controversial topic that has to do with Barack Obama healthcare or NSA, people will be cut off. It seems like it happens all the time. We don't know why that happens. We don't know why when we bring up certain controversial subjects that lately we've been finding ourselves either fading or being taken off the air. Our phone callers as well. Something's going on. But then, of course, we live in, as I said before, with the solar storms and everything, phone situations are going to be very strange. Electronics are going to be very strange. We're going to be seeing that in the future as well. So we have to be prepared for these sorts of things and find ways to overcome them, find ways to continue into the future, and be prepared for what may be and what might happen. I mean, there's something to be said about a vigilant society. There's something to be said about a group of people that know that there's a brave new world coming, and they're brave enough to face it. They're brave enough to face any revelation that may come, even if it is uncomfortable. And that's the problem, I think, a lot with this country, is if someone speaks uncomfortable truths, they're dismissed and banished, and people ask if we can get rid of them somehow, or otherwise silence them. And this is something that is a trend that I don't like. It's something that needs to stop. And I don't know why people feel that way when they have the choice to keep it out of their lives. They don't have to ruin other people's lives in the process. And if it's a harmless comment or something that can be discussed or engaged, this is the dialogue that needs to be had. And that is my worry, that we silence dialogue if it's uncomfortable or if it's something that we don't understand. It's a trend that needs to cease. We still have freedom of speech as far as I can tell. And hopefully we will take and at least hold dear, keep respect going for our constitutional rights, our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We'll get Jerry back on the phone with us. Just a reminder, if you want more information, if you need all kinds of great information that's good for the soul, good for the psyche, it's psychicfitness.com. That's psychicfitness.com. Coming up, your phone calls. What's going on in your future? That's what Jerry will have for you coming up, and we'll have more from him right here on Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
Some of the scenes you will witness may appear to border on fantasy.
Stand by.
You have 5 seconds. 5. Information is free. 4, 3, there is hope. 1.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Siri.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Siri.
the loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Siri.
give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
Wait, Siri. Wait, Siri. Wait, Siri.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. We are live tonight, the first episode of 2014. We've done 237 episodes in 2013. That's a whole hell of a lot of episodes for one guy and 3 staff members. Or actually 4, counting Jonathan. 5, counting his beard. I knew you'd like that. You would. Yeah. I've shared lunch with his beard. That sounds kind of weird, but still. 888-67. I can't stop laughing. It's so funny. Let's go. Jerry Hoskey's my guest tonight on Ground Zero. PsychicFitness.com. PsychicFitness.com. He was cut off, and it just all of a sudden like faded out. And you were talking about Obamacare. What were we talking about? We were talking about Obamacare, weren't we?
Yeah, I was talking about Obamacare, and I got cut off.
Oh my God! So let's get that final thought. Let's get some phone calls in, because I'm sure people are chomping at the bit, wondering what their future is going to hold and what's going on with that. So yeah, health and fitness and tech.
Okay, so basically, you want me to sum it up real quick?
Yeah.
I actually think, I know everyone thinks Obamacare is terrible, it's out of the gate horrible, blah, 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 blah. But with the analysis and understanding and the trust and verify, I see slow, methodical, trying to make progress, trying to make sure all the bells and whistles are in place. I also think the marijuana laws that are here now, I think that may go national at some point in the not too distant future, and that'll also be a source of funding with the health care. Like part of it will go towards health care, so to offset the cost. I also think it's going to streamline the doctors. I think he's going to gather, whether it's Google tech people or a lot of these tech experts, like the top in a lot of fields, as well as security people, to try to not only fix the website, the signing up website, Obamacare, but also streamline the care, cut the fat. I actually think ultimately this is going to go a little better than people think.
Well, it has to go. It has to go better, and I can concur with you, Jerry, that they'll be working with Google and other groups to make this happen, because I personally believe that Obamacare is just an extension of the surveillance state, and it's part of the medical aspect and the health aspect of the surveillance state. So it has to go better.
Well be. Yeah.
And we do have to work with Google, and we do have to work with all these other companies, because they want to have a surveillance net medically on us as well as everything else that they have on us. So, I mean,
so I really think it actually is intuitively it's needed, and I do think they're going to kind of work out the kinks, and they might even meet with different countries that have a system that's working a little bit better, or maybe they won't be like Canada, but he has meetings with Canada.
Well, let me tell you, you know what? You're onto something, and I'll tell you why you're onto something. Once again, you're showing your psychic intuitiveness, because a lot of people believe that if the quirks don't work themselves out with Obamacare, we'll be setting ourselves up for socialized medicine care like they have in Canada or England or other parts of the world. And that's one of the biggest fears of the conservative right, is that this will be happening, that it'll be just another step towards socialism. And that's always been the biggest fear. I brought up the fact that the rose was actually used as a symbol during the dropping of the ball, and a little girl had a design of a rose for hope and for tranquility, and that's a good intention. However, the symbol also means a lot of different things to people, including the Rosicrucians, the mystical rose that's seen on the 13th card in the tarot deck, which, of course, is the death card. We mentioned that a couple shows ago, and how it can be used as a metaphor for change. The horse, the white horse, of course, it's the year of the horse in the Chinese New Year. The death of kings and monarchs shown in the card, and then the reciprocation, or the Pope open-armed to the change, and of course the New Jerusalem, or the New Dawn, rising behind the two towers in the card. So what's that?
13, the death card, of course, is also one of the biggest things. I know you probably know. It stands for transformation, not just physical death.
Right.
And so ultimately, this is not a 13-year, but I hear you as far as the date of the 13 and all and the rose and stuff that you said. But I actually think this is going to ultimately, down the road here, in the next few years, be better than it currently looks like it's going to go. I actually think it's going to be kind of better. And it's going to get better at cutting the fat. And how many people die in hospitals in America? We're the most expensive place to get care, but is our care the best in every area? No. So I think that ultimately this will kind of help more than it hurts. And I think that he's going to be real cautious with promises.
Well,
I actually think more people have signed up than he said now, but he doesn't want to over promise.
I have always said this. People are saying that Obamacare is socialized medicine. It most certainly isn't. And in fact, if it doesn't go well, we'll be praying for socialized medicine. Let's just put it that way. and especially the way they have it in Canada and England. And I know that sounds very cynical, and I know people are fearful of any one more socialized benefit from the government. But, when I was in South America and I lived it, I felt a little bit more confident about going into the doctor's office in the hospital without worrying about whether or not I'm going to have to, take out a second mortgage on my house or file bankruptcy because of it. And people like me, and I've had my bouts with cancer over the years, and believe me, it's taken a toll on my pocketbook. It's taken a toll on my ability to, get out of the morass of being in debt. And people think that, you get into a position of having a talk show, immediately you're making money hand over fist. That's not the case, especially when you have debts to pay with regard to your health. And insurance only covers so much before you start saying to yourself, well, wait a minute, how am I going to pay off that thousands of dollars that are left that they used to save my life? It's hard to do, and you're constantly getting calls, you're constantly getting bills, and it's like, I would just like to find a way to get out of that problem and to get me well on my way to my future. And those are the things that I think, like you said, if I look into television, if I look into more ways of expanding the show, I could probably do that.
Yeah, a couple. I actually highly recommend you look at the TV thing. The nice thing about, just to digress with you for 1 second, the nice thing about the TV thing, first of all, let me just say this about the Obamacare. I also think the deadlines that he has for the people signing up and all those deadlines there, that's going to be real soft. And it's going to be like, forget the deadlines with people. But as far as the companies and the healthcare, the healthcare organizations and the organizations that co-pay for the employee to get health care and that kind of thing, the employers, he's going to be, and then, of course, his own government, he's going to be hard on them, but soft on the people signing up.
Well, we'll have to see. That's an amazing prediction, because I'm sure a lot of people are more cynical than you are, and that's a positive thing to think about. Let's go to Maureen in Massachusetts, listening on WTAM. You're on with Jerry Hoskey. Go ahead.
Hi. Happy New Year, gentlemen.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I was wondering, Jerry, when is your book coming out?
My book?
He's got a lot of books that are already out. You could just
I have one book that's out now that I self-published called The No Die Die, but I actually am writing another book that's going to be coming out. I don't know when. So you're psychic to even say that.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, I was wondering, real quick, because I know you have a lot of people online, and my birthday is 11/12/56, and I just turned 57, honey. So you're going to turn 50. To me, you're a baby.
So what's your question, Maureen? Quickly.
I just wanted to know how, I've been feeling very calm and very in control because of Clyde, all the things you talk about. You're informing so many people, and people are awake. And I think the people of the United States are really, I hope nobody underestimates the people. They're getting prepared. They're doing what they can do every day, because of you, Clyde, and I thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
And I pray every day for you, honey.
So what you're saying is there's a positive outlook for you, Maureen, in the next year.
Well, no, I didn't know. I'm just saying in general for the United States. I think because people have, began to wake up.
Okay.
They're going to, like your guest says, as far as the government type of thing, we're going to hold everybody accountable, how they voted. Because people know the process now more than they did before, prior to even 2008. Now they're talking to their, representatives and the senators and even the local government. They're watching it on Channel 3 or whatever it is. And they're really getting involved. I see people getting involved, which makes me so happy. And everybody's just doing what they can do. But even a little bit is better than nothing at all. And I just want to thank you, Clyde, and all the best to everybody, and you, Jerry, and you too. And hopefully the book will be out on Thanksgiving.
Okay, so you see a book in his future for Thanksgiving. There you go, Jerry. Somebody giving you a psychic reading. How's that?
That's great. I need all the help I can
get. Fantastic. Jerry Hoskey's with us tonight. PsychicFitness.com. At PsychicFitness.com. If you have a question for Jerry, what's your future hold for 2014? You can call in for that too tonight. And your own predictions, and then maybe some from Jerry as well for you. All coming up on Ground Zero. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
This is not a test. It is the future. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. Talk with Jerry Hoskey tonight on Ground Zero. Let's go now to, Scott in Pennsylvania, WTAM. You're on Ground Zero. Jerry Hoskey, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Great.
Hi.
Jerry, I was just wondering what my 2014 is looking like.
Your general future this year, Scott?
What's that?
Your general future this year, is that what you want to know about?
Yeah, I'd like to know. 2013 was kind of up and down a little bit, and I was just kind of wondering if it's going to look better in 2014.
So I'll tell you what I see here, and I want you to know I could be wrong, so know that, and your destiny is always your own. So that goes for any caller. So you're clear on that, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. A couple of things here I see. It's interesting enough is that you have the chariot reversed. So there's a real energy with you about if there's things you've been putting off, Scott, like whether it's like paying bills or organizing things or I'm not saying taxes, but taxes or anything like this with you, there's a sense of like respectfully, if you're not organizing things or if you have things in disarray in certain areas of your life, this is a time for you to kind of try to get a grip on it. You know, it really is the journey of 1,000 miles starts at one step, Scott. So it might be overwhelming to do this in certain areas in your life, but even a little progress is progress. You know, if you clean one corner of your house, I'm using an analogy here, and you clean 1 square foot each day, by the end of like 30 days, you got your house cleaned. You know what I mean? So there's a sense here of you that there is more need for kind of getting your stuff more together than it currently is. I think this year will be a lot about that with you doing that. So I think this is a year of really, now whether you're going through breakups or are going through breakup or different job transitions or anything like this, or even just period in your life, I'm trying to start over kind of vibe, or I'm trying to get my life together more. These are the kind of questions I think that you're going to come up against this year or have to solve. I think you can solve them, but remember, use it. Don't get overwhelmed. I used to wait tables. I paid my way through college, and I had a number of jobs. One of them was waiting tables. And when I first started, I tried to get everything for every table. And I realized that wasn't a good technique because then I was always behind. So I decided to do one thing at a time. I get one drink for one table, or this for that table, or hors d'oeuvre for that table. And then I know I can at least mark them up for 5 seconds. And there's an energy like that with you. Do one thing at a time. Don't get too overwhelmed because you're already overwhelmed is what I see here. There's a sense of like handle one tiny thing at a time and to get towards the road of having things in balance. So that's what I see for you regarding this year.
Does it help you, Scott?
Yeah, it does. That's really great. Yeah, I've been kind of doing that now, starting off with that. That's really good.
Well, Scott,
I have a question for you.
What's that, Scott? Go ahead.
With the Obamacare thing and the socialized medical and all that stuff, I've heard rumors that they want to start putting chips in people with all their medical information. Do you see that as some kind of? Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, it's on page 1001, but it's all things that they're going to be inserting, and it's also other things like pacemakers and all sorts of other things that have serial numbers. So it covers a great deal of things. The fear of a medical chip, a biometric chip, is something that has always been.
It's kind of like Mark of the Beast-ish kind of thing.
Well, if that's what you want to say, I don't particularly go along the lines of that a chip is the mark of the beast. I see other things involved with regards to that kind of prophecy. The mark of the beast it's only part of the idea. And I know a lot of people disagree with me because we've been told this story about how a chip embedded in the body would be the mark of the beast. It all depends on how they use it and what they use it for, and whether or not what is involved here is biometrics and blood analyzations or analyzing. And so it's a very tricky, trepidatious area where you tread when you're saying it's the mark of the beast. I say let's see what they do with it first, and then we can determine whether or not it could be part of some beast system. The system is already being taken over. We've talked about Serpent Co. or the company Serco, which is the company that's supposed to be running the situation. They are a company out of England that runs everything from time to you name it. Prince William owns it. He's involved with the healthcare situation. So, I mean, there are a lot of really kind of creepy things in the background that we need to reveal and at least look into. So I'm not going to go on the record as saying that I'm believing that this chip is going to go into people, but I do know that it's on the ready and that there will people who will volunteer for it because they feel they need that sort of protection and that sort of identification. So that's something that we may explore in the next year.
One more thing?
Go ahead.
Jerry, recently I've had a relationship that I got out of.
Oh, we can't, Jerry.
In and out kind of thing.
Scott, no, we're not going to have another psychic reading. I got to run him out of time. I thought you were just going to ask him a quick question. You know, you only have like one question a night. We don't want to, muscle in on the time of Jerry because we got a lot of people that are waiting in line. So please, if you're calling into the program tonight and you want some sort of a reading or what have you, or if you want to know what's coming on for your future, please limit it to one question and one particular thought. We don't want to muscle in on the time here and take up too much time. We've got a lot of people waiting in line for that. The website to go to tonight is psychicfitness.com. That's psychicfitness.com. Jerry Hoskey is my guest tonight on Ground Zero. It's been heard all over the world and on many networks. He's the psychic fitness guy, the natural born intuitive, and believe me, giving a lot of sound advice to people tonight. Not much doom and gloom, but there is a lot of bumpy road ahead, we know, and there's a lot of other things that we need to be aware of, be prepared for. It's not we should always be vigilant and aware of what's going on around us. And once again, that whole trust but verify idea, which I think is remarkable and does fit in all sorts of ways tonight, Jerry's advice, right here on Ground Zero. If you have any questions, 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We'll be back with more. Keep it here. Don't go away.
More with Clyde Lewis and Ground Zero on FM News 101.
You think your world is safe. It is an illusion. A comforting lie told to protect you. Enjoy these final moments of peace. Because in the future, our son will turn into a monster.
Uncertain your future is. Find yourself. You must.
Managers of the critical Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant say 10 of their workers have been exposed to radiation above the safety limit.
And unfortunately, this pattern of spreading untruths served a purpose. And unfortunately, this pattern of spreading untruths served a purpose. And unfortunately, this pattern of spreading untruths served a purpose.
There are 17 million adults in California and an estimated 4 million handguns.
That's not fair.
When no more can be sold, you can see that the majority of adults will be virtually prohibited from ever owning one.
1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. Doesn't matter how many lemons you get out there on the street begging for them to have their guns taken. We will not relinquish them. Do you understand? Do you understand? Do you understand?
It is very foolhardy to activate a super android when you do not know if he will be in a good mood or not.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and you are listening to Ground Zero, the first Ground Zero show of 2014. My guest, Jerry Hoskey, tonight, psychicfitness.com. It's psychicfitness.com. Taking your phone calls at 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We go now to Laura, who's listening on WOAI. Laura calling from Texas tonight. You're on Ground Zero with Jerry Hoskey. Go ahead.
Hello, guys. Awesome show tonight.
Thank you.
I'm calling to ask what he thought my future might be like. I've had a rough past years, and I was born 6/29/59.
You don't. Everyone doesn't need to give me their date. I don't actually go by that, to tell you the truth. So, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
What is, you want to just see your general future for the year? Is that your question, or do you have a specific question within this year?
No, general's fine, please.
Okay, gotcha. So, your general future of the year. First of all, I think this will be a decent year for you. I think that you're going to sort of, the previous caller, I said almost need to get more ducks in a row and handle things. I think you're better at that. So I think you're going to, whether you've gotten a leg up on that or you were just kind of more practical with certain things. I'm not comparing you with that person anymore, Scott. I'm just saying, by the way, Scott, you could always just call and get a reading or get on my site. If anyone wants a reading or more than one question, they can do that, or follow me on Twitter. I put out a card of the day and stuff like that. But I see this as a year of you almost gathering more strength. Do you have any children or grandchildren?
I had one son. He passed away 15 years ago.
Gotcha.
At the age of 18. So I have no children, divorced, single.
Okay. I think this is going to be a decent year for you. I think it'll be kind of a year that you start to, whether you make your own New Year's resolutions about health or you start to try to make headway on a lot of areas. You know, there's 4 areas to balance in our lives. There's mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical. I think you're going to give some attention to a lot of these areas this year. So I actually think this will be a decent year for you. I think it's going to be better than the previous 3 years have been for you. So that's what I see for you.
There you go, Laura. That's some positive input there. How do you feel about that?
Well, sure.
All right.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Take care. Let's go to Martin in Georgia, listening on WGST. You're on with Jerry Hoskey. Go ahead.
Yes, I have a question about relationships. I'm considering taking a 4-year friendship with someone further, and if you don't possibly see something with her, do you see maybe with someone else?
Laura, would you repeat that? Because
it's
somehow
Martin.
You're a little jumbled.
Your name's Martin, is that right?
Yes.
Okay, Martin.
My question has to do with relationships. I'm considering taking someone I've been a 4-year friends with 4 years to a dating relationship. I'm just wondering, do you see anything going with that? And if not, maybe someone else I might meet next year.
Can you give me the name of the person?
Her name is Abigail.
Okay, so the future you and Abigail, is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, do you see anything possibly happening with me and my friend Abigail?
Let's take a look at that. I think you're going to have to either, whether you need to be more forward about it or make your intentions more clear or pick a lane here a little more. I think if you want something to happen, this is what I'd recommend for you, that you make your feelings more known or pursue stronger or go for it more if you want that to happen. I think that'll actually have more beneficial results. The way it's going now, it seems like it's going to be... It's like someone not reaching for the ring or not trying to score the touchdown or not really, that they were not willing it enough or something. So there's an energy here about you laying your cards on the table a little bit more here, trying for it, going for it, courting her, all that kind of stuff. If you want this to have a chance, this is what I'd recommend that you do. I would encourage this, by the way. As it's going now, though, I think you need to do these actions. So this is what I recommend to you. Okay?
Does it help you, Martin?
Thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you. Let's go to Bill in Ohio, listening on 610 AM. You're on Ground Zero.
Hi.
Hey, go ahead.
I don't know. Does he need to know my birthday?
No, he doesn't. He just.
No, I don't.
Go ahead, Bill. What's your question?
Okay. I have an outlook on my life that this is my last year, so I need to know what's ahead. Basically, tell my spouse, this is my last year, or I'm leaving. So I guess either way,
What do you mean it's your last year, Bill? Have you been given a terminal sentence of life or something? What's going on?
No, I'm just, I've had enough, and I just cannot take no more. So some strange things have occurred, and I've just seen something that don't really want to accept, but I think it's going to happen. I just saw something when I was walking one night, and maybe that was the angel of death person in front of me during the dark, and then I turned around and they were gone, and there was no house on the corner. I looked around the corner, I went to the corner, nobody was there, and I'm like within not even half a block from that person.
So what you're saying, Bill, is you saw a harbinger, and you're wondering if that is going to mark your death for the year. Is that what you're saying?
Right, because things have not been going good at all.
Let's talk to Jerry about this and about your harbinger and about your thoughts and fatalism that you have for this year. Go ahead.
Okay, Bill, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that your name, Bill? Bill, a couple things I see here. First of all, I would encourage you to, we all could use some help and support at times. We're all fragile eggs that are half cracked here. I'm at the top of that line and the front of that line myself, so I understand it. Being in this field, I'm sensitive to everything. So you are somebody that I would encourage you to get some counseling or some help or some encouragement, or even joining a group, whether you help feed homeless people or you volunteer someplace and it almost seems like a feeding, or whether maybe it's attached to disabled American veterans or something like this, that you're giving something back and therefore you feel like you have more value. I'd even encourage you getting a pet or more pets that you care for. But I recommend you get some counseling about this. I do not see you dying. I do not see that this is a harbinger of death. That's not what I get. I would encourage you, again, within the realm of I'm trying to be very respectful because I really mean this, that we're all real fragile here and we all really need encouragement. So I would encourage you to kind of get that kind of help, and maybe a lot of times negativity doesn't help us. I know it's easy to say and it's hard to do sometimes, but this is what I see for you. I actually think it's better than you're seeing it right now. I think we all see God vaguely through a dark glass here, but I think that your puddle's muddier looking than it actually is. So I would encourage you to sort of get the counseling or volunteer or the pet or something that feels like, okay, I've got a reason to kind of hang on now, and I can get around this other thing over there, these other problems I'm having. At least I have this. This is what I would encourage you to do.
Okay, Bill?
Okay, well, it was really peculiar is we get in an argument, and my wife feels that I have a demon. Kind of strange, but that's what she always says.
Bill,
demon, maybe
if your wife feels that you have a demon, or if you feel like that you have something inside of you like that, the counseling would lead to more spiritual matters. I suggest, whatever your faith is, to find someone who would be an officiator in that faith, that would be able to confer upon you a spiritual blessing of some kind, some sort of enlightenment or some sort of cleansing that would kind of keep that from being attached. Because, Bill, demons do not possess people unless they open themselves up to them. And it needs to be said that no demon will attach itself to you unless you've been playing in the devil's playground or you've been playing in that realm. I don't think you have. I think that maybe something has appeared to you and it's indicated that maybe it's given you a symbol or a harbinger symbol of whatever. But it could very well be someone or something on the other side that wants to get a message to you, and it could very well be something benign.
And one more thing to say about this, Bill, is there's a book that came through for you to look at. The dude that started Saddleback Church or something, he's a very popular preacher. I think he wrote a book. It has Friday in the title, and he's are you familiar with the guy I'm talking to? He's a young guy, kind of charismatic. His dad was a preacher, and he owns a big church, and it's kind of like non-denominational. But he's on the New York Times bestseller. And he's on it right now, I'm sure. So find his book. It has Friday in the title.
You talking about Rick Warren?
No.
Okay.
The younger guy. He's younger and kind of like, I think it's Saddleback Church or something like that. I'm blanking on his name.
Okay.
But he is a public figure. And if you look on New York Times bestseller, I bet you'll find his book, and I think it has a Friday in the title, a Friday word, literally the word Friday in the title.
Okay.
Get that book and read it.
All right.
That's my advice.
The only one I've ever heard of somebody with that type, they're going way back to the Gulf Coast Fellowship, is Derek Prince.
Okay.
I don't know if you're familiar with him.
It's not that guy. I don't know. I know I'm not familiar with him. It's not him, though. This guy's a young, charismatic guy. He's got a blonde wife, and he's well known, but I'm blanking on his name. But there's something about a book. It's literally, I think, on the New York Times bestseller right now, and it has Friday in the title. So just do a Google search for New York Times bestseller and Friday in the title. You'll find this book. I'm sure of it. So and buy that book and read it. That's my thought.
All right, Bill. Thank you for calling in, and just take some heart here and realize that not all entities that appear to you are evil. And that if you get an argument, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have a demon in you, unless you've opened yourself up to that, and I doubt you have. So open yourself up to positive things, and you'll find that those things won't exist, and they won't be around you all that much. And if you feel that you are suffering from attachment, detachment is as simple as calling upon faith, calling upon God, and praying incessantly. It happens. It gets rid of it. And if it gets worse, then you have to go to a counselor and find out what's going on. So you do that, Bill, and take Jerry's advice. 888-673-3700. That's 888-673-3700. We're back with more right here on Ground Zero. Don't go away.
FM News 101 KXL.
Back to Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis on FM News 101.
This is not a test. It is the future. Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis.
Okay. Let's go to David in Texas. You're on Ground Zero. Jerry Hoskey, go ahead.
Hey, Clyde. Hey, Jerry.
Hi, David.
I just had a quick question. I just keep it limited to that, I guess. I'm wondering what your opinion is. I don't put a lot of stock in psychics, but you seem intelligent, you seem educated, and value your opinion. The Middle East, do you believe it's going to come to a head? The bombs drop and everything, and there's the scripture it talks about around the great river Euphrates, the destruction taking place, and then, of course, the temple being rebuilt. What do you think about those two issues?
I believe ultimately that stuff will happen. Now, whether it will happen this year, I don't know. My sense is probably not, but I do think, we talked about kicking the can down the road in the economy and whatnot. I think there's a little bit of that with this going on. And I also think America is going to really look at what our role needs to be and what it doesn't need to be and what's been effective and what's not effective. I actually intuitively think that was our money well spent and our troops well spent? Again, like the Egypt thing, we give them a lot of aid and one video and then they hate our guts. You know what I mean? It seems. I know not everybody, but certainly some fractions there. And bless the Egyptian people and all that. But it's like, is America giving money to a lot of people or aid to a lot of countries trying to keep a peace? And how effective is the dollars we're spending? And how effective is the troops we're giving? Where do we need to maybe draw a line or shore up our own a little bit more here? And I think there might be whether it's through Congress or through the people of America or tea parties or whatever, that really kind of bring that into focus. Like, what are we spending our money on? Who are we helping? Why are we helping them? What is it working, what we're doing? I think there's going to be a real call when I talked about the analysis understanding this year, and Middle East is one of these things. Of course, we're going to be helping Israel, and I think that's valid and needed, but also we're not going to be as aggressive as Israel is about trying to Israel is doing a lot of things. They'll pull out all the stops to try to keep themselves safe and peaceful and everything else, but so I actually ultimately think some of the prophecies of the Bible will come true. I don't know that they're going to come true this year, though.
Thank you, David, for the call. Let's go quickly to Zoe in South Carolina. You're on Ground Zero. Quickly.
Hey, thank you. Happy New Year and all that good stuff, Jerry and Clyde. Hey, I was calling. Thank you. I was calling to see. This past year's been quite devastating, and I was wondering, basically, is this year going to be any better? Hopefully, I don't. I hope that it is. So, give me some good news, if you would.
Some of your words I didn't hear, so would you bottom line your question, please? I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. Yeah. How is this year going to go? Is it going to be good? A good year for me, or is it going to be not so good?
Health-wise or period?
Sir?
Health-wise or period?
Period. Well, yeah.
Everything.
Period. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a decent year for you. Have you ever thought about having your own business?
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, that would be cool.
Have you thought about
it? But I'm terrified of the tax aspect of it. That's the only thing that's really holding me back.
You got to handle all that. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Remember, you might as well do what you think you're supposed to do. God gives us our unique seeds here, and I think you should plant some of these. You can do this. You can have your own business or your own you're a very creative person.
Yep.
I recommend this for you.
Hey, Jerry, we're running out of time. Zoe, I thank you for your call. Thank you, Jerry, for being on the program tonight. Gives us some insight of the year to come.
Thanks, Clyde.
You have a great night. Great 2014. We'll have you on again next year, I'm sure, because you're always great, and you always bring insight to a new year and a lot of positive spin as well. And I thank you so much. It's psychicfitness.com. Hope to see you again real soon.
Thanks, Clyde. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Take care. Bye-bye. Coming up on Ground Zero, more thoughts on the new year. We've got a few things we need to cover, a few things we want to discuss, and I want to get your input. So please stay on the line. We'll talk more about this coming up on Ground Zero. If you have more to add,